How are you doing today?
Not too bad. We're live.
Yes.
So,
Hey.
and the more observant viewers may have noticed, there is no Christelle today.
Mm-hmm.
That is allegedly because of stomach trouble,
That's
or
right.
or
Mm-hmm.
she was frightened of the fact that I've got a quiz.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm I like that you use the word allegedly because that's kind of where my head's at too. You sent out this message that said we're gonna quiz you guys, and the next thing we know, Christelle is a little sick. Christelle,
yeah,
if you're watching us, hello.
yeah. Hopefully, it's not COVID. I don't think it is. I think she did say it's stomach related.
Yeah.
So, she's probably in some terrible pain at the moment. We're being mean people. She was the content of the show, so this is going to be the non-conscious version.
Right. Yeah. So it's just you and I today. It's us. We gotta get some energy like Ryan Seacrest and Kelly Ripa. We
Yes,
gotta dig
I
down
know the
deep.
names, but I don't know who the hell they
Okay.
are.
I gotta tell you though, I couldn't believe it when you guys said to me that you don't really watch TV, yet you're doing a live show.
Yeah,
If you watch
well,
TV, you actually learn a lot if you watch the right shows about what it's like. And it's just kind of funny. You're like, we're the worst two people to talk to about current affairs. I'm like, hello.
well, I mean, it's a bit like I've written fiction books. And I've not read that much fantasy, and I've not read that much time travel, but I've written those kind of books.
Hmm.
I mean, I think there's a difficult balance between watching content in the genre you're creating in and being hamstrung by all the current conventions in it.
Hmm.
I mean, I think you're right in that you can avoid some obvious mistakes.
Yeah, you can learn. You learn. Because I don't watch them. I'm not dedicated, but I can say having my background has definitely helped me in watching some of those people, not all of them, because I don't desire to be a little too amped up on coffee most days. But they do
Yeah.
have some. There is some takeaways there because they have many of those people who are long lasting, like those two. They are coached.
Oh, yeah. Well, I actually, um, is it is it Groupon, the one of these coupon schemes they used to have, where
Right.
that years ago I had a bit of a thing of doing all of these weird things that Groupon were doing, and one of
Hmm.
them was a presenters TV presenters course
Oh
called the Presenter
wow.
Studio, which is still going actually. I get emails from them occasionally now. But that was quite interesting. They just did like this taster session where you could have like, and they said like you have to have personality times seven on video to really stand out, which of
Yeah.
course I've totally ignored with this. Um, but you can kind of see how TV presenters can end up as crack addicts because they're just on coffee all the time, just trying to be hyper, to be really like in the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And often people on video are quite people who are good at video, and you meet them in real life, often are like really in your face kind of people. So yes, I don't know how I got into that or
Well,
what point I was trying to make. But
David Letterman, though, a lot of people I know who are really great on camera are actually completely opposite in real life.
mm,
The light goes on. David Letterman is one of those people. He, they say he's really shy, behind the scenes and everything. But as soon as that light comes on, red light goes, and he's animated and live and somewhat funny in some of the skits he does. So he's great when he does his interviews. So,
yeah,
I
well,
think it depends on personality and some of those people are just a little too over the top for me. I've
yeah,
actually declined jobs being sidekicks on TV for people like that or that are too over the top because it just doesn't work for me either. But there is some things that you can learn, to help you refine yourself on camera and things like that. Just
yeah.
the basic stuff. Wear it like this shirt. Like I would never go on a show wearing this shirt I'm wearing. So it teaches you how to do the makeup and the clothes and the basics that at least help make you look the best. But it
I
was
think
funny to hear you guys say that.
you need to buy your stylist.
Yeah,
Um, get a new one.
Yeah, you're right. I'm fired. That's it. I'm
Yeah,
fired. This is a mistake. I feel
irony one.
yeah.
Uh,
So
so
you
one of the things I was thinking we could talk about,
mhm.
especially now Christelle's not here to get in the way and be all happy and stuff, um, is what you. Well, actually, this is kind of could be portrayed as happy. It's like, what would you like? First of all, what would you like the world to take out of the COVID crisis when we get back to normal?
Mhm.
And then, secondly, what do you expect the world to be like after the COVID crisis?
Yeah. Well, last time we talked, which was I think the other day, Tuesday, you said you had some views on that. So I kind of feel like you should have the floor first because it's
Oh,
been on your mind.
that's a nice comeback. I can see your TV screen there. It's like the old. Let me repeat the question to you. Like, trick. Um, well, okay, I'll go first, and then maybe you can chime in with
I have
your.
some ideas, of course, but I remember on Tuesday you mentioned that. So in my
Yeah,
mind, you
I'm
should
trying
have
to
the
remember.
floor first.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I saw a YouTube video where people were going through previous pandemics, and these are like long. I mean, everybody knows about the 1918 one. Oh, we got my friend Beth is on. She's saying hi. So
Oh,
that's
hi
hi,
Beth.
Beth. And in the previous 1918 one, everybody knows about that. But
Hmm.
actually, all of the other big pandemics have caused major events in history. So in I think it's 560, there was a massive, the first plague thing in Europe basically wiped out about 40% of Europe's population.
Mm,
And that was coincide with the very end of the Roman Empire.
mm,
So, I mean, you can say, did it cause the end of the Roman Empire, or was it basically the nail in the coffin of the, I think it was really the nail in the coffin of the Roman Empire. Um, and then again in 1350, I think it was the Black Death, which was the plague again, basically. And that was the thing that ended serfdom in Western Europe. So
mm,
before that, Western Europe was like Russia was like this until like 1900s odd. There were people who literally were enslaved. They were like
mhm,
slaves basically to the feudal lords. But
mhm,
after the Black Death, there were so few people left that they basically had to give them their freedom, and they went from being slaves to peasants in effect.
mm.
So they
Wow.
weren't the property of their lords and masters anymore. They went to actually just being peasants who were poor and miserable.
Mhm,
Um, but that was a profound change in society that happened after those two previous pandemics.
mhm,
Obviously, the 1918 one was kind of, you had the First World War as well, and that transformed society.
mhm,
So I mean, just with my kind of magic crystal ball,
mhm,
I mean, obviously, we're not going to have quite the number of deaths relative to those, but
mhm,
I think the lockdown itself will change society in as much as the countries that have been locked down less or have been less affected will
mhm,
obviously be owed a lot of money by the countries that are going to be locked down for longer and more affected.
mhm,
And certainly for the US, I suspect that US dominance of the world, which has already been on the wane, will continue to be on the wane going
mhm,
forward. Whether China will be the person to take over, given that they're in a bit of a mess as well,
mhm,
is another matter. But I think it will change everything geopolitically. And I think that there's a lot of things that people realize. One of the great things about society is that people don't realize how much can actually be changed. I
mhm,
mean, we go through periods of time when nothing really changed and everybody's happy with the world because that's what they're used to. But then you
mhm,
have things like this where everything changes and people suddenly start realizing you could, in effect, change society to be whatever you wanted it to be.
mhm.
Anyway, that was a bit of a monologue. So, have you got any views on these things, April?
Well, I think it's fascinating because I like history, and I think it's fascinating that you went back further than I did in terms of um, what is Beth saying there? Got any Dunkin' Donuts to share virtually?
No, Tim's on. He's got his own show at the same time this time. So I was trying to get him on to get him on as a semi
Tim
guest.
let us down just a teensy bit. That
Yeah.
um, Yeah, so you went back further, which I think is great that you did that because I haven't done that yet. But you asked like, what do you hope will come out of it? Well, you always hope that well, right now I actually kind of think that two things are missing anyway, and that's for a lot of people it's been up to this point compassion and how about a little common sense. So for me, I kind of think it's pretty simple, but I take a lot of my direction. I think you and I have talked about this a little bit before. A lot of people kind of negate the fact that the Bible also has historic accurate events. In fact, in some cases, in most cases, it was predicted 2,000 years before it happened. In fact, a plague like this. So when I'm doing a lot of history research, I often turn to the Bible as well to see what it has to say. But I think in the short term, I think hopefully people will come out more compassionate. Right now, it seems like there's a lot of. I was noticing this morning when I was scrolling through my feeds, my social media feeds, and in the news. I don't know how it's possible, but people are turning this pandemic thing, and then here, I don't know about there yet, but here, they're trying to reopen the country, and you've got all these people who are kind of what do you call it, like marching for whatever it is. My
Yeah.
menopause brain is a little slow this week. It's been a bit of a problem, so bear with me. But they're out there kind of causing chaos and stirring the pot. And I saw some really nasty stuff this morning in social media from people, and I kept thinking to myself that they're not real people. So, I kind of looked online because I thought, who could really be so horrible to say some of the things I'm reading? And then I looked online, and they actually are real people in certain parts of the United States that have really strong views and opinions. Um, and they think we should all be out having parties and going to bars and things like that. So it's interesting to hear everybody's perspective. Mine is just good old fashioned common sense. I don't know how it got here per se. You hear all these different stories. Bottom line is that it's here. We need to take action, protect myself, my family, and I'm a firm believer. If the government says you need to stay at home because it's safer for you, then stay at home. And if everybody says go outside and party when common sense tells you don't do it, I'm not going to do it. And I think when you and I talked on Tuesday with Christelle, you mentioned that you don't really have any fears about traveling with this ongoing issue. Is that
No,
right?
no, I don't. I mean, well, I say I don't have fears about it. I don't have fears about the virus itself.
Mm-hmm.
I would have concerns about getting mixed up in another lockdown or something
Mm-hmm.
like that if I went abroad.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I'm not bothered. I mean, in effect, I did travel. I went to social media marketing world at the start of March,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of on the cusp of when like people were getting concerned about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, well, I mean, especially as, I mean, I don't know. I had something with very similar symptoms in February, but the trouble is, like every flu is similar to COVID,
I
cold similar
know.
to COVID, and it's very hard to tell. Um, I
So
mean,
true.
the thing they're doing in the UK, which I mean, the UK has been a terrible mess for handling this, as has the US. I mean, both of
Mm,
them screwed things up quite badly.
okay.
But the advantage we have in the UK over the US is we have basically one central government who's going to be dealing with it. So yeah, they've screwed up, but they can also fix it. Well, in the US, you've got all this devolved federal arrangement where you've got different like states, and like you can have one state that's really good next to one state that's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Whichever is right or wrong. I mean, there are some people who say that a lockdown isn't the right way to approach it.
Mm-hmm.
But all these inconsistent approaches across the US mean that I think it's going to stay for quite a bit longer in the US than elsewhere because it's there isn't that joined up thinking. I mean, Trump has kind of said, "Oh, we will have these guidelines for states because he knows he can't really do anything about what
Mm-hmm.
states do."
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that they're doing, they announced today in the UK, is that they are really ramping up the testing at last. They're finally going to be getting to like 100,000 people tested. Because at the moment, they've only been testing medical patients in
Mm-hmm.
hospital,
Mm-hmm.
That was what they were the only people they were testing for a long time. Now they're testing medical staff, and now they've finally said that anybody who's an essential worker, that's somebody
Mm-hmm.
like in schools or like power workers, people who have to still keep working, they can now have
Right.
tests if they want it. And I think to come out of the lockdown and to have any chance of it not being a mess, you really do need extensive testing going round. And a lot of the states haven't got that. And I'm not sure it makes you lose all. I mean, whether you agree with lockdown or not,
Mm-hmm.
it was basically a way of the government of those states or countries to say, like, we don't really know what's going on, but we want to freeze everything as it is now
Yeah. Yeah.
to sort it out later on. But all of those later on solutions all require testing. So
Mm-hmm.
you've got to be able to know how many people have got it, how many
Mm-hmm.
people are going to get it, and be able to track people who have got who suddenly get it and find out where they're going. So I'm quite I think actually the UK approach now, where they're talking about getting like a testing teams and tracking groups of 18,000 people tracking people, it's
Mm-hmm.
probably the right way to go. But even with that, they're talking about 3 weeks before they might lift some of the lockdown procedures.
Wow. I know I was reading an article that said that, and this is the part that, should, I think, educate us. Um, Considering the time period we're living in, when you think about the fact that nobody imagined that we would find ourselves here at this point where we're having to be on lockdown. And the thing about that COVID-19 is kind of what you were saying earlier, is that it's probably been going around a little longer than we know. And I read an article this morning that said that they're starting to release this. Oh, it turns out that these people who died in their home. And I was seeing that in the news. There were people who were dead in their home and they didn't really know why. And now I saw reports this morning, and I don't know if those two are connected, but what they're saying is that there were people who died in their homes here in the U.S. And it turns out it might have been that COVID-19 before we even knew it was going around.
Mm,
Just in the very early stages. And I, like you, I mean, I was going to the store. I had a family member in the hospital at some point with some issues very similar. The doctors didn't know at the time what it was. Turns out it was some other infection, but we were at the hospital. And even though I always wear masks and gloves, so all this stuff that's going on right now is kind of funny because I've been made fun of before. I've been wearing a mask and gloves in public places since I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2012. Actually, 2013 is when I was really getting treatments. And I started to think during the flu season, it made sense to protect ourselves. So now everybody's doing it everywhere, as you know. But I definitely think that we should move about in the world a little more carefully. Being cramped in tuna cans is probably a bad idea, because now what we learned from COVID-19 is that it can spread quickly, and it happens so fast you don't even know you have it. There's no warning. There's no
mm.
warning. We were in the middle of a pandemic before anybody realized, hey, this is a pandemic. So we should walk away a little smarter and more cautious, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think they need to have more facilities on almost like retainer for doing testing for viruses. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
apparently, there are people at the World Health Organization who were saying they were suggesting this a few years back, but it's always wonderful with the benefit of hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
There should be a global kind of team that is like, soon they're able to quickly ramp up testing and other things as soon as there's even and that is going to actually require some kind of international cooperation, ideally, rather than because I mean, yeah, the US could create their own sort of testing thing, and it's all been everybody's gone very national. It's like, but I mean, this is obviously would need an international solution to be.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter how good the like testing is in the US if like if like the rest of the world has got some COVID-22 or whatever,
Yeah.
and
Right.
yeah, you want to be able to like throw resources into wherever the country is in the world that has it,
Mm-hmm.
China or Italy or wherever, and be able to test everybody and find out like where is it, and
Hmm.
like properly restrict places. So
And I think we can expect to see more of that for people who have to report to work. I think there will be more, checking temperatures. I think
mm,
I think companies, at least here in the U.S., are going to be far more cautious. You got to figure if you work in a building with 1,200 people, at best, then those people got families, they got kids. You bring that into a building, you're going to infect a lot of people very quickly. And I know I've heard that in my conversations with people who work in corporate America. Those were the conversations that were transpiring early on in this. Should we just start taking people's temperatures? Should
mm,
we, how far can we take this before we start crossing a line into someone's private life? But I personally, after all I've been through, I'm kind of okay with that myself. I know it sounds a little too, what's the word I'm looking for? It's very controlling. It's like what you see in the movies. Everybody's lined up wearing the same uniform, and imagine being tested for our temperature. But I kind of think we just have to. Nobody wants to see it get to that point, but we have to be safe. I probably won't be so quick to travel, because I'm watching what's happening globally, and there's been reports that places like China are having a second bout. So I'm not so quick to get on a plane or any of those things right now. I want to watch and see. But I always say I'm a risk taker, but not really so much in my personal life. I'm not going to tempt fate. I'm not going to prove a point. You know, I'm a fact checker, right? That's what you do
yeah.
in the journalism world. I check everything. I talk to resources. I go everywhere I can. And then I sit with myself for a couple of days and think, well, how does April feel about this? And I don't care what anybody says to me. If it doesn't feel good, I'm not doing it.
Well, I mean, you're in the at-risk population of like people who are vulnerable to it, so it's entirely sensible to
Yeah.
do that. I mean, I'm kind of on the border of like I'm 47, so I'm not that. I mean, this is why I'm coming more and more feeling that I actually did have it in February because I'm kind of at the age level where you would have symptoms, and it wasn't fun what I had. I did feel pretty terrible for a little while,
Right.
but it wasn't like life ending for me, so to speak.
Hmm.
But then, like lots of vulnerable people, it does affect, and that I mean, you could argue that the original approach that, like the UK government and I think Sweden and some other places, but it's always very difficult to compare countries,
Hmm.
of focusing on protecting the vulnerable people
Hmm.
uh, rather than locking down everything. But I don't really blame any government for what they did because they just weren't in the position. They were kind of like Britain was in 1939, where they weren't really in a position to do very much. They just had to play for time.
Right. They didn't
And
know any more than we did. They don't
yeah,
know any more than we do when it comes to this. They're learning. We're learning as the globe deals with it. But you said something that I thought is interesting, and I have to say this, especially if somebody tunes into this conversation, and that is that thinking when you say, well, I'm not at risk. If you really rationalize that and ask yourself, really process it, and think about that statement. Just because someone says, oh, only this population is more likely to get it than others, doesn't mean it's a fact, because where we're getting our information from is trying to figure it out as we are. So they don't have the facts. And I kind of thought to myself, my dad and I were talking about this. It's kind of like saying the only people at risk of getting the flu are people who are above the age of 60. That
mm,
doesn't make any sense, though. I mean, everybody can get a cold, everybody can get a flu. I guess what I'm thinking is, what is it that would make you or anybody who with that mindset believe that disease is careful and who it attaches itself to?
well, I mean, I don't think that. I mean, I've based that mindset on like lots of media that I've watched about, consumed about COVID and other
Mhm.
things. So I don't think it's a case of me just doing it because I saw some people frolicking on the beach in Florida. Or
Oh, I don't think you're
um,
that kind of person either. That's not my that's not where I'm going. You're very I know you think about things and you're smart, so you process it. But I still have to ask, why do you think that disease discriminates kind of
well,
thing?
I mean, most of them. I mean, the thing is, COVID is different from the flu. The flu is largely passed around by children and and children are affected by the flu.
Mhm.
Where COVID is quite different kind of profile in terms of how it affects people.
Mhm.
So, but again, it's like you're right in some ways. The information about it is, but then it's like that. I suppose I have a much more kind of liberal attitude to risk and
Mhm. Yeah.
things like that in general now.
Mhm.
I mean, somebody made the analogy, and it's not a fair one, but it's an interesting one that it the governments around the world could like reduce like death rates from road travel by limiting the speed limit to 20 miles per hour of every road in the
Mhm.
US and UK and
Mhm.
save like tens of thousands of lives a year, but
Mhm.
they don't.
Mhm.
Um, so, I mean, that's a bit of a spurious thing because the real reason why actually even the UK government, which was to begin with, was talking about things like herd immunity and just trying to protect the vulnerable, was
Mhm.
they were worried about overwhelming medical systems more
Mhm.
than actual. It's not so much the death of people from COVID-19, it's the death of people who can't get medical treatment because all the hospitals are full up with people who are getting COVID-19.
Right.
That's why they've locked everybody down.
Mhm.
But um, the governments always make loads of decisions as how much they think a human life is worth and how risky one is.
Mhm. Mhm.
And yeah, it's interesting because the society as a whole is in denial about death and risk. You have very
Yeah.
peculiar attitudes about either, especially I think the US, but even the UK to some extent. People don't talk about death, and
Mhm.
I mean, strange enough, when I grew up, because my dad was much old. Well, both my parents were quite old, but my dad was much older than my mum. He was like 45 when I was born. So during my kind of well, in my teens, before I was a teenager, even I had like I think three of my grandparents had died. So I was
Wow.
kind of used to going to funerals and things, even as a child.
Mhm.
And obviously, I'm a widower now, and my dad died in 2013 as well. So it's kind of I kind of got used to death, but there's a
Mhm.
lot of people who are just aren't. They just haven't like, or they haven't even had that to think about the possibility of dying themselves or somebody else dying near to
Mhm.
them. And I think that's why governments have struggled with the communication about the fact that yeah, some people might die, but actually, is it you have to trade off the lockdown versus that. And
Mhm.
it's a horrible thing to say in some ways, but is quality of life for everybody else worth maintaining at the cost of death of some other people?
Mhm. Yeah, it's been a lot of deaths, actually.
Mm,
There's been a lot of lives lost at this point. I know for sure after, when I was sick 9 months before I could get an accurate diagnosis of cancer. And the number one reason that is two things, because there is gender bias in medicine. So when I kept saying something was wrong, they said I was paranoid. I was losing weight drastically, and they said, "Well, maybe you have a secret eating disorder that you don't want to talk about. Maybe you're a closet drug addict. We think you're just paranoid." And I saw 32 plus doctors that year. Um, and one of the things they said is it's not possible because you're too young for that. You look good. It's not likely. You have, I was active because I'm a hobby dancer. So I'd always danced and worked out. And I'm the person who, you know, took the stairs versus the elevator.
yeah.
Um, and they kept saying, you're too young, it's not likely. And during that 9 months, um, what I felt was, had they listened to me and stopped thinking about things like, oh, she looks too young, she seems too healthy. It doesn't really happen to people in that age group. I could have been saved from going through chemotherapy, because I think had they caught it in the first month or two, I would, when I was complaining and having severe issues, I would have had surgery. Probably still would have I opted for a double mastectomy, or what they call bilateral, and I still would have done that, but I probably wouldn't have had to go through the chemo. So what I learned is that disease does not discriminate, although
Yeah.
the medical community has a tendency to do that. Um, and there is no real age factor. It doesn't matter that you have kids, it doesn't matter where you come from. Um, when it taps your shoulder, you're in the game. And whether or not you make it out, it's kind of like good luck with that. So for me, it's like, after being through that process, I know for sure that life is too valuable to toy with or risk. And so I tell people all the time, one of the things I know in my line of work, both from reporting the news and working with individuals, um, a lot of people say things like, hey, this is what I heard when I was going through the cancer thing. Hey, everybody has to die. We're all going to do it. It's no big deal. Well, see, the thing is, though, it's never a big deal until it's you.
Yeah.
When you hear those words. And so that's why, ever since what I went through, my goal is to get people to reason on, imagine yourself getting the worst news of your life, which is usually, you have XYZ and there's nothing we can do for you. Go home and prepare to die. And with COVID, you don't even get to go home. It's like they got to isolate you there. So for me, it was just, my takeaway from my experience was that I know that even though I knew death existed, you and like you, I lost my sister. She was my
Mm.
best friend, died at 26. You never really know it as much as you do when it knocks at your door. When you have a near miss, I'm here because I had that. Thankfully, I'm still here. When there were a lot of other people around me dropping off. So for me, it's like, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to risk it, because the pain that's involved with the sickness. And imagine, like, these poor people who are being intubated. I talked to someone I know yesterday, in a small hospital she's at. Right now, there are 40 plus people sick in the hospital, and 11 of them are intubated. That's an that's a scary process. But like I said, I've always reasoned. I have a sister who will jump out of airplanes, whereas I would kind of process that before I did it.
Yeah.
I stayed a little closer to the sidewalk. I didn't play chicken with trains and things like that. So I think some of it is going to be personality, right?
Yeah. I mean, there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance between, like, trying to protect your life and your thing, but on the other hand, you don't want everybody in the world to be stuck inside forever. I mean, there has to be trade-offs. I mean, but as I say, the obvious way is to do with testing and better,
Yeah.
like, procedures, and they just didn't. With more preparation, they could have been a lot better. Because even now, I mean, like, they're only just developing accurate antibody tests.
Mhm.
And you can go online and you can watch about, like, in Iceland. I think there's somewhere in Santa Barbara. They've done, like, these tests. Well, they've used the existing antibody test, which is a little bit unreliable.
Right.
Uh, and still, nobody really has an idea of how many people have actually had it. And
Mm-mm.
as I say, there seems to be places in California, and I suspect in Europe as well. I think in UK or London anyway, where it was actually around a lot earlier than they thought, and there were probably more people who had
Hmm.
it than they expect.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I mean, I think New York and London probably had it bad because they have, like, mass transit systems which lots of people use.
Yeah.
I mean,
True.
if I had to put money on where I caught whatever the hell I had in February, whether it was COVID or some other thing, I would have said it was on the tube, because they're overcrowded. Lots of people. They're almost transmission devices for almost like going to a school. Going to a
Mhm.
school, great place if you want to catch.
Mhm.
So that's why I suspect a lot of other American cities haven't been as affected, because people travel everywhere by car, so they're inevitably not in close proximity.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure what the point I was trying to make there.
So let me say, my journalist ear heard you say something. You said there has to be trade-offs,
Yeah.
and because we don't want everybody like that locked up. That's true. I can't argue with that. But if the trade-off were your life or your mom's life, would you think it was a good trade-off?
Um, well, I mean, if it's like me or my mum's life, then it's. I mean, that's a bit of a kind of a. I would probably say I would go for my life, but that's a stupid thing. If you're saying like, if it's a trade-off between my mum's life and me being locked down for a year, then obviously that's a different thing. But this is the problem between, it's like a personal example. You've got
Mhm.
like, it would be because my mum's 80, so you
Mhm.
could say like 5-10 year life expectancy, and it's kind of like, well, and clearly being selfish, I would always put my own life above anybody else's, probably.
Right.
Whatever people tell you about like desperate love for other people, usually most people will preserve their own life before anybody else's.
That's
Um,
true. That's very true. Yes,
I
it's
mean,
been proven time and time again. Yes.
but I mean, if you're talking about like, I mean, something I think will happen in the next couple of, I'd be surprised if they don't do this, but
Mhm.
I'm always surprised by what governments do. But they're talking about like having these iPhone contact tracing apps, so that in the UK you'll install it on your phone, and then if anybody nearby you has COVID, they
Mhm.
basically notify everybody who was in like proximity to them.
That's an interesting concept. I did read something. I don't know enough about it, but I think that's an interesting concept. What do you
Yeah,
think with your background?
but it's only going to work if like 80% or so of the population use it, and like then you've got to get people and people with devices are probably going to be savvy enough to understand the privacy consequences. So
Hmm.
my suspicion is that for things like bars and possibly restaurants,
Okay.
um, they will say, well, you can only go and drink in the bar if you can prove ID and you've got this contact tracing app on before you, like almost like when you go into a bar in the US and you have to have ID check, you have to
Mhm.
have like an app check to see that you've got the app on. Um, so there will be an erosion of freedom, so that people can have like more exposure to the higher risk activities. So that's, I suspect, will be what happens, though. What anybody guess really what's going to happen in the next couple of months?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that actually, comes to fruition.
Yeah. Well, at the moment it's saying we've got 0 viewers, so maybe we should change to the quiz.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not surprised that that happens because I think that, we're kind of learning, and I was
Yeah.
kind of thinking that we should come with um, topics, bring topics to the table, kind of, things that we see. I was going to mention that to Christelle too, things that we see going on. If we're going to keep doing this format, because I honestly think most people don't want to, they don't want to just hear us ramble. I'm sure they don't. They want to see something. They want to see a fight, or we got to pull each other's hair somehow. There's got to be some anger going on, right? That's what fuels the Kardashian fans in the world, is all the crazy
Yeah.
going
Well, I
on.
mean, it's interesting. I've been pushed. I was trying to get somebody who was a consulting client of mine to do this. Like everybody goes on about how social media, you should be authentic to what your life is and all the rest of it. But I actually think there is an argument for almost scripting social media certainly in like office environments and things like
Yeah.
that. So rather than having Instagram stories where it's just you following somebody going using the photocopy machine, you could actually script extra stories and things into the episode, so make it
Right.
actually almost fictional
Yeah.
in terms of it. I'm not sure we should take the show that far, but it could be like what April and Tim disagree with about today. Just take on totally fake personas just to make the show a bit more interesting. Anyway,
We lost each other for a moment there.
yeah. Well, I think you. Yeah, I think it's my sound. I've got my sound. My sound keeps going because my. I have got a quiz for you.
Okay. Let me
Now,
put
what I'm going to
my
do
real
is
keen eye glasses on, because if you guys want a bit of reality, my vision has been going sideways, it seems like, since I went through the chemo thing. Also, there might be a little age thing going on, but I'm not sure. And I'm not owning it.
blame on the
Like,
key. Well, I'm going to show you a series of photographs that I've
okay.
taken in the US, and you have to tell me which state it's from.
Okay. Oh boy. Oh, also F plus. Just hands down F plus on this, guys. Just so you know, I'm not going to get this.
Number one, where do you think this? Which state is this from?
Well, first of all, this is old. This is like 1978.
It's
19,
not. It's actually a photograph I took about 3 months, about a month ago.
no kidding. There's
Yeah.
a whole lot of retro vibe going on here. So, United States,
Yes. And which state? Quite,
California,
quite an unfair one, actually. But
California.
no, it's not California. It's in an airport.
Okay, so it's not LAX then.
No,
Um,
no.
that would be in New York.
Yeah. So that's you got 1 point. That's in the TWA hotel where they converted the former TWA terminal to be a hotel.
Wow, that's a hotel. I love the retro stuff, what we now call retro, right?
Yeah, I mean it was funny because it's like it's right next to the JetBlue terminal, which is kind of brand new, but it's like we were.
So wait a second. Did you stay in a hotel, the TWA
Yeah,
hotel?
it's
Tell
all
us what.
decked out with like TWL paraphernalia.
So what was it like? Did you like the tell that that's interesting to people who tune into this if they catch us on the fly. What was it like? Did you like it? Was the service good? Was the rooms interesting?
Well, I was there overnight because I don't like night flights. So I basically arrived like about 10 o'clock at night and then flew out at 7 in the morning.
Okay.
So I didn't get to see any of the. Apparently, there's like an airliner with a sort of aeroplane with a bar in it there as well. But it's all decked out. The room's decked out with like TWA paraphernalia, and it's quite
Okay.
a interesting, interesting thing. Hang on, let me remove that for a second, and I'll find you some photos.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. I think people would find that interesting because I didn't realize that. I actually am gonna check it out as well.
But we will come back. We're coming back to
Yeah.
the quiz eventually.
Yeah, we
Um,
will. Just show some quick photos. I think that's interesting.
March. I've got these panoramic ones. Right, so this is a panoramic shot of the room.
Oh,
So
nice. Yeah. So I see is it has, yeah, those images are retro images too, isn't it? Aren't they?
yeah,
I mean,
right.
pardon the bad language. This poor grammar. It's the real deal. Yeah.
But the hotel itself is actually it's quite sort of it's a huge sort of it is the former TWA terminal.
Oh, I love that. That's got a lot of Remind
Okay.
take me back to some of the old movies. I mean, I wasn't that old, but I remember watching them in later years when my dad would watch like Dirty Harry, all of the Clint Eastwood movies. You would see this kind of thing going on.
Yeah, I got massively lost trying to find my way out of it though, because
Really?
it's like the main entrance is on like the fourth floor,
Hmm.
and I instinctively went to the first floor because I thought that's, and I ended up wandering around this random ballroom area before I realised, oh yeah, it's actually top floor.
Pretty, pretty big. It's kind of like something you might find in Vegas. It looks like.
Anyway,
Go
shall we
ahead.
get back? Let's get back to. And
So
your
right now,
next,
what we're doing, in case someone pops in, is doing a quiz.
we're
Uh,
doing a quiz, which
quizzing
was going
me.
to be for April and Christelle, of name the state of where I took the photograph. And unfortunately, Christelle has mysteriously gone sick. So poor old April already declared her geographical incompetence. Though I did manage to get the right answer to the last one with a bit of prompting. So, which state do you think this one is in?
That also looks like California to me.
Nope,
That's not California, huh?
no. California is one of the ones, I'll tell you that, but it's not this one.
Yeah, just when I see I mean, this looks kind of like where I grew up a little bit. I'm going to a little man-made lake like that. It's pretty deserted. Arizona.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Is it?
Arizona.
Okay.
So you got that point, right? And where do you think this one is?
Disneyland?
No,
No, it's not Disneyland. Florida?
no,
No. Arizona.
no. There's no duplicate
That's not,
states. Like once they're
that's not,
gone, they're gone.
yeah, that's not Arizona. Um, wow.
I was actually really impressed with this. It's a botanical gardens in a state in the US. So not typical, it's like, but it's
Yeah, that's not something, I mean, that's something you'd expect to see near Disney World or something. Let me look at the land. Not California. Is that in New York?
nope.
The sky doesn't look like. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna give.
It's Georgia. It's Atlanta in Georgia. The botanical
Oh, I
garden.
should have thought of Georgia because they do have green. I've seen some other stuff there from friends.
Yeah, I
Wow.
really, I really like Georgia as a well, Atlanta. I've never been anywhere else in Georgia, but Atlanta was a great place to visit. Right. What about this one? It's slightly more blurry
San
photograph.
Francisco?
Nope.
That's not San Francisco. Trolley. Ooh, that backdrop looks 1970s too.
This is actually a place where virtually any other photograph I would have taken would have given it away.
Oh, is
um,
that really?
we got
Chicago?
a hi from Chris.
Hey, Christopher. Thanks for chiming in.
We're doing a quiz where April has to guess the state,
Yeah,
usually with a little bit of assistance from me.
that doesn't look like Chicago. I was thinking
No,
Chicago. That's I don't
it's a
know.
big tourist place in the US.
It's a
Uh,
what?
it's a big tourist destination in the US.
Oh my God, that's not LA, is it?
No,
That
no,
would be
it's
a
not
cruel joke
California.
on me. That would be a cruel joke. Tourist destination in the in the US. Florida, Palm Springs, um, LA.
There's a big event every February.
Oh, Coachella. That place looks like a desert. Oh, it does? Vegas.
No, no,
Because that
it's
doesn't look like Vegas either, all
there's a
those
slightly French feel about it.
in California or in the US? In
In
the
the
US.
US,
Oh my gosh, I don't know. You got my brain all over the place.
Do you want me to tell you where it is?
Yeah.
Oh well, Chris Ian Hill says he thinks he knows.
Okay.
So
Tell us who it is, Christopher.
where you think it is? This is where I hope he's still watching. It's gonna be a long way.
You're still there,
Yeah,
right, Christopher?
yeah,
Don't
you
let
can
us down,
guess.
but we need you. We need you.
Ooh, the anticipation is burning. This
My
is
husband
probably
and I were somewhere when we saw those cars. I mean, those.
yes. He's right. He's
What do you say? New
New Orleans,
Orleans. Oh,
which is why I
yes,
was saying like any
right.
other
Mardi
photo.
Gras.
I really had to pick one from there because virtually every other photo is obviously New Orleans.
High five,
So
Christopher. I didn't even think New Orleans. You're right. Okay, that has to be New York or San Francisco.
it's neither.
Neither what?
We've already had New York.
Okay, so they're all different. San Francisco.
Oh, we got our guest
North
on
is that
Tuesday got it right as well.
there, Deborah. Um. Oh my goodness, I guess I need to do more traveling. That's why you did this, isn't it? You were trying to make me look bad. Yeah, I
No,
don't know. I would have said no. Is that where you live? England?
no, these are all places. This is somewhere in the US, and you have to tell me which state.
Pennsylvania.
Sorry?
Pennsylvania. I don't
No,
really see those in Pennsylvania, although they do have, because they have stoops. This is some place where it gets snow.
this is on the East Coast, I'll tell you that.
Connecticut, Connecticut, Pennsylvania.
What's the big place where they have like a few big universities?
Harvard, Yale,
Yeah. Where's
Princeton.
that?
Oh boy. You're asking a menopausal person to tell you where that is.
Well, look, yeah. Well, I shall. I'll tell you. It's Massachusetts and it's Boston.
Oh, Boston. See, this all makes sense
Boston.
when you say it.
Though, yeah. Deb Cole seemed to be assessed. It was
It's a
Georgia.
state
Oh,
out of
Georgia.
Georgia.
We've had Georgia already, but you missed that probably. All right. Next one. Where is this?
That that is Chicago.
No.
That's not Chicago. Look at the big building in the. Oh, I can't zoom it. In the right. Two Rivers, Minnesota. No, not Minnesota. Minneapolis.
No, it's close to the last one. In fact, it's about 30 minutes away from the last one by rail.
Where's my friend? The Arches. Oh, I'm just so bad at it.
I think it's this. I think it might be the smallest state in the US. I don't know actually. One of the
Uh,
smallest states.
yeah, I don't know. I have something in mind where my friend lives. This is the thing. If anybody ever taps in here and sees what menopause is, you do a lot of sounds like, looks like. So I was thinking of there's Arches. Starts with an M.
Oh yeah, it's not Minnesota. I've never been there. So
Missouri?
no.
No, not
Um,
Missouri. Okay.
this is Rhode Island. This Providence, Rhode Island. So
That's Rhode Island.
yeah.
Wow.
So it's actually a terrible photograph because apparently it's famous for the river being high kind. It's a tidal river, and it's much better. They have like water shows and things when it's high tide. I only got a picture of low tide.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
I mean, I haven't been to that part either, although I know
right, this
people.
one's kind of easier in a way.
It's supposed to be easy because everybody knows the movie, but I can't tell you where that was. I know the movie, of course. Everybody knows the Mystic Pizza movie. I just can't. I don't know where it is. It's someplace green though. Do we get to guess, or do we wait till April guesses? Wrong three. Yeah, chime in, Deborah. Chime
Yeah,
in.
just chime in. I'll have to be. We don't want this show to go on too long, and I've still got about 5 more, I think, to go. So.
It's just gonna go on and on, you guys, because I'm so bad at this.
Well, this is Mystic Pizza in Mystic in Connecticut.
Oh, that's where that was shot, huh? Or that's where they got the.
Yeah, it seems to clump the pictures up. This one's impossible, so
That's
this
pretty, though.
is the hardest one of the lot. Actually, this could be absolutely anywhere.
That's pretty. Wherever that is pretty. Let's see.
Any guesses from any out left field guesses from people in the comments?
Who is that? It's someplace where they get rain.
Yeah, it's not Arizona.
No, it's someplace where they get a lot of rain because there's so much green there. I was looking to see. I don't think that's it, but when I see that bridge and the light post, I was thinking of like bridges of Madison County kind of thing. But this looks more like Deborah. I'm waiting. Don't leave us hanging. Come on, girl. Save a sister. Southern, yeah, I agree, Christopher. Some sort of southern state. Which is
No, it's another one of the northern ones. It seems to be putting them all together in my photo. This is actually Dover in New Hampshire, and which you would be. It's a bit of a dump, the place, and I spent 4 hours there on the train. But it's got this beautiful nature reserve right behind it, so that's where I took this photograph.
It's pretty, though. I mean, that looks like a really nice, peaceful place.
Oh yeah, it's lovely there. Right.
Oh God, this is still going on. That has to be Vegas.
No.
Lucky 7.
We've got a guess of it's Delaware, but it's not.
Okay.
Oh, he was thinking. Oh, yeah, I didn't even mean to put that
What
comment.
about you,
But
Christopher?
anyway, I'll flip on to some. How many have I got left? I don't know how many I've got left. I've got a few left. This is Maine. This is Portland in Maine.
Okay.
So you can kind of tell I've been to a lot of places up in the.
Yeah, you have. You've done a lot. That's great.
So this is actually quite a world famous venue that I visited, and I'll give you a clue. It's not in the northeast.
That's not the music hall, concert hall.
It's an opera house.
Oh wow.
So, any guesses from the commenters? They probably already lost interest.
I did. I'm sorry. I'm I can take a lot of good photography, but I don't. Our picture behind LOL Delaware
Yeah.
was with the path with the woods.
Yeah, that was a good guess, but I've never been to Delaware yet. It might have loads of
That'd be a
places.
good place to see, though, considering its background. So this
Yeah.
is an opera house. Okay. I didn't know we were still guessing. I thought you were telling me we're opera house.
Yeah, well, it's a world famous one because it's partly exposed to the elements. And I got exclusive access to go and have a look at it out of
Oh, did
season
you
because
really?
I know the people who run the social media for it.
People you were connected to?
Yeah,
Or is it?
yeah. And
Okay.
it's more,
Fort
well,
Worth?
no,
Dallas?
it's not Texas. There's no Texas pictures in here. I've been to
Okay.
Texas, but for some reason they're not in my Google Photos.
Okay. So, yeah. So you said it's not New York.
It's not in the Northeast.
Yeah, because it's awfully, like in the background, it looks like too much desert is going on there.
Yeah, think desert.
But I should have known, but it has been for years. Ashland, Oregon, is that?
No, it's not. This is not Oregon. It's further south. It's closer to you than it is to Oregon, I think. geographical.
Opera
We've
House,
already had Arizona.
Tennessee, New York. Um, Sorry, I got a message there. Philadelphia.
Tell you.
No, none of those. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's not Chicago. There's no way that's Chicago. That just looks too. There's too much, like you said, it's outdoors. I don't remember the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. That's here though, right? Dorothy Chandler.
Yeah. No, this is. Shall I tell you? Because you're going to be here all day otherwise. It's the Santa Fe Opera House in New Mexico.
Oh yeah, I would have never guessed New Mexico as a place for that. So that's interesting. Okay.
Santa Fe is worth going to. It's actually lovely. It's very posh, but it's got loads of arts venues. Where is this?
Capital. I don't know.
It is a capital. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Got mountains. And
There's snow. Is that? There's snow. There's mountains. Utah.
yeah. I've not been to Colorado or Utah yet.
Okay.
They probably all look exactly the same as this.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't know.
And it's not Washington, at least the one on the West Coast, but it's close.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's. Oh, go ahead. What?
It's close to Washington.
Okay.
No, it's not Colorado. Ooh.
Yeah. That's a good question. I don't know, because I would have thought the next one, which you said you weren't there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a fashion. It's becoming more of a fashionable tourist place actually. But went there because I knew somebody.
I should have known because I was following you too. This doesn't.
No, not Seattle.
Montana.
Kind of up that way, but there's a state between Washington and Montana, I think. There's one that goes all the way up to the Canadian border.
Oh.
It's the one you probably forget about.
Well, in my brain, that's a lot of things I forget about. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have to make my call. Deborah or Christopher, do you have anything else? Can you use your internet search and let me know what you come up with?
These are all photos I've taken, so they're probably not on the internet anywhere. Anyway, this is Boise in Idaho.
That's Boise?
Yeah. And Boise is just so beautiful, but most of the photos I've taken were like panoramic ones, so there's not a few.
Wow, that's probably
really
the most.
Cold. I went there in like in February, and it was really cold. So
There's a lot of pretty pictures you have, but this is probably the most interesting to me because I know a lot of people there, especially from the LA or Hollywood entertainment industry. They tend to go and buy, homes or build homes in places like Idaho. So it's interesting to me to see this.
Yes. You know what? Maybe when you get around to traveling again in 2026.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I know.
Right. What else where's this?
I don't know. I don't know what that statue is. Is that New Mexico?
A statue celebrating Native American.
That's what I thought, yeah. That could be anywhere here in California, Arizona, Mexico, New Mexico.
We've done all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, you haven't been to Colorado. You haven't been to Colorado, right? So.
No, it's not. It's not Nevada.
Okay.
I've been to Nevada, but I haven't. I've been to Las Vegas about 3 times, but I haven't got any digital photos of it. It's strange. I'm wondering if I should go back to the States. I haven't got digital photos that I can do there.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No, we did. New Mexico was Santa Fe, so we've already done that.
That's the same thing I said too, because I was thinking, where are they mostly known?
It's not it's not a southwestern state, no.
Okay, Christopher, thank you. So if it's not southwestern, the obvious, then what would be the surprise in all of this? And that I don't know. There's so many.
Where is Superman? Well, apart from Krypton, where does Superman land?
I don't know. I'm not in any
Right.
of that. It's like you guys with TV. I pick a place that I want to go that's pretty or that I can learn about history, but I don't know where that is. Do you, Christopher?
So yeah, where did Superman crash land? Is that state? Even though he crash landed in a fictional place in this state in the Midwest.
Okay, then if it's north, then
Not really north.
I don't go to the north. I appreciate the
Yeah,
honor.
Smallville. But what state was Smallville in?
Oh, Smallville, you're right. Smallville. I used to watch that years ago. Um,
Flat. It's supposedly flat as a pancake. But they did an analysis, and actually, it is
well, it's
flat
not
around there.
Minnesota,
No,
Maryland. Well, at least I know I'm not alone. Chicago?
no. You can't say Chicago to every answer. I mean, you
But
will be.
it's
I think
my
I have got bits of Chicago somewhere, but we see. Oh, right. Nobody seems to know. It's from Wichita in Kansas.
Kansas. Who would have thought that? Well, you're right. Surprise.
I think this is the last one. This is quite an unfair one, actually.
Why? Because it's misleading. It looks like it would be in Washington, D.C. somewhere. Is that why it's
Yeah, well, actually, it's the grave of a president and his wife, but it's not
D.C.?
in
Uh,
anywhere you expect.
Jamestown. I think I
Not
said
that far from the last state.
okay. I don't know. Anybody? Kansas. I think we already had
I'm
that.
not sure. She might have got the last one. I'm not sure. So it's hard to tell. Oh, she cheated. Okay.
I say that only because of Google. Right, right.
Well,
I've done
anyway,
the
for
same
you
thing.
Googlers in the crowd, this is where Harry Truman is buried.
Wow.
And because I've got another kind of hobby where I visit the presidential library museums. And the interesting thing about the Harry Truman Museum is that he was so dedicated to building up the museum after he stopped being president. He's actually buried, his whole family's buried in the middle of the
Wow.
presidential museum. So it's wherever Harry Truman is originally from.
Wow.
And yes, it's not Pennsylvania. And yeah, Jen's saying there is a delight. As yeah, you're probably like you're probably getting the right answers, and we're seeing it like I think this is the last one. So
It's pretty.
right, well, yeah. So any guesses? I think we killed them all off. They've died a
Yeah.
ball. Oh no,
Uh,
we got the right answer. Deb, yeah, point to Deb. Missouri.
high five. High five, Deb.
Right, I think that. Well, I think I have got some other ones, but that'll be the last one because unless you want another. Do you want another bonus one?
Whatever makes you happy, sir. I don't know enough. I don't know everything that everybody's eye is going to catch something different when you travel.
Yeah. Well, This is a museum in this place.
Okay.
So, what place what state in the US?
Capitol Records.
No, it's Pink Country
Oh,
and West.
hold up. Let me think a minute.
Where would you have a museum for country and western?
Oh, Tennessee, Nashville.
Yeah, Tennessee. Woohoo!
That's weird. When I was looking at that, I got to be straight with you. My
This,
head must be my kind of music or something. I do like country music, but that made me think of a blues place somewhere
yeah,
small. That didn't look like Nashville.
this one, like somebody in the comments actually lives here, and you should be able to get this one really.
Oh, that must be Deb, huh?
Yeah,
Because
this
Christopher
bridge,
lives in Oregon.
this is California. This is Coronado Bridge from the Coronado side.
Oh,
In
it's Hotel del Coronado. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the bridge. You're right. That's a nice place. Did you enjoy it there?
oh yeah, I
Thank
actually did
you.
stay. I
Yes,
stayed in
Christopher.
Hotel Coronado for a few days.
You
Uh,
stayed?
yeah, it's not worth it's not worth staying there. You're better off to stay in the quickie hotel across the thing because everything in Hotel de Coronado is open to the public. So, but it's a
Yeah.
lovely place to photograph.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's it. I think that's the so we've gone well over time. I think the
Yeah.
quiz idea is miles better than us talking about COVID when we got rid of all the viewers. But having the quiz and you showing your fantastic geographical knowledge,
Yeah.
clearly more of a hit.
Yeah.
So,
I'm definitely a whiz when it comes to geographical knowledge. I think that's evident, isn't it, Tim? We don't need to second guess that.
so thanks for everybody for watching. Oh, we've got a comment from Deb about Colorado.
I lived in Coronado for a bit. Yeah, it's Sleepy Town. I agree.
Imagine that.
Oh, Pleasantville, right. Yeah, I went there. I liked not recent years, but I would go there often every couple of months and go and hang out there and sometimes go with friends and family and just kind of walk. Like she said, it's a sleepy town, not a lot to do, but it's
Yeah,
nice. It's nice to just kind of chill out in a place like that occasionally.
yeah. Anyway, we've gone well over time.
Hmm.
So, uh,
Well, Christelle, if you're watching this, we miss you.
well, if Christelle hasn't been watching it and we get her not to watch it, I could give her the quiz next week.
Thanks, Deb, for being honest. I appreciate that. It's okay if I call you Deb, right? I think I saw someone call you that in Twitter, but thanks for being honest about that. I appreciate that. I'm really bad at that sort of thing.
But
I love
if
traveling, but that's
Christelle
it.
doesn't watch it, we could give her the same quiz next week and
You're
see
right.
how she does.
Oh, she'll watch it and not say anything, come back and seem like a genius all the way through. Okay, thanks, Tim. It was good seeing you, and thanks, guys. I've been
Oh,
dying to get a drink to go with lunch, but had to know where that one pick was from, and then the next one. I'm glad that you joined it. I think are we gonna have? Are we having
what?
Deborah coming up soon?
Yeah, she's on next Tuesday.
Next
So
Tuesday.
she's
Yay! I
on the
look
next
forward to
two.
meeting
I,
you.
I think that's right, but if not,
I
well,
think it is
somebody
you.
Tuesday,
I
but I
think
think
it is
yeah.
you.
So yeah.
Okay.
So the person who, so 50% of the viewers, according to the thing, are going to be the guest next week. So
Yeah.
I could have more photographs if you want a quiz, Deb. I mean, it's like
I think Deb is going to be like, let's take a pass.
yeah,
Facebook doesn't let me be at Coach. Okay.
yeah.
Darn, legal names. Deb is fine. Perfect. Thank you.
Anyway,
Okay.
we better go before we get. Well, actually, I mean, apparently you can go up to 8 hours streaming on.
Oh gosh. We're
StreamYard.
going to have better content than this to go long.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to be more engaging. You know what we ought to do is what we should have did here. Now you got this one. We ought to have a dance party. I'm all about getting up and moving and dancing. And if we're gonna get together, who doesn't like a dance party? We can let people join in, play some music, get together, have some laughs.
Yeah, but copyright wise, you shouldn't be using copyrights unless you want to compose your own music.
No, that's not true. Actually, you can play it in the background.
Well, no,
You-
Facebook's take down broadcasts that use copyrighted music. YouTube have got some sort of weird agreement that they can do it, but
You're not supposed to lay it down. As far as I know, you can't lay it on anything. So we can't lay it on this and then claim it. So even on Instagram, you can't reshare someone's music now
mm,
because unless they give some sort of permission. But it's my understanding if it's playing in the background and you're dancing, there's no laws against that. You're not claiming the music. One of the things I typically do if I do that, and I think a lot of people are doing that, is that I say things. I announce who
I
it is.
think I'm right as well.
Oh, really, Christopher?
I'm pretty sure you.
I
I think they take
But
it
if
down.
that were the case, Christopher, people like um who are going live right now and doing a lot of dancing and exercising and all of that on Instagram wouldn't be able to do that. Julia's playing music in the background, right?
Yeah, but a lot of the time you find that they've actually got there is royalty-free music out there. That's why I
Mm-hmm.
use podcasts and things. So
That
presumably,
music is mostly terrible.
yeah.
Nobody listens to some of that music. Some of the music that I've seen that royalty free is done. They took down my 66. Yes, mine too. This happened to me. But at the same time, though, Christopher, what is Julia playing? I mean, there's a dance. We know a girl. Yeah,
Uh,
we know a girl who's playing music and they're dancing, and I'm watching it. I'm chimed in with people who are dancing all over, and nobody's saying anything. They're not laying it down though.
I know
Over
you just want to be in with the bad girls who play copyrighted stuff and like
Yeah, because it's not really copyrighted.
advertising
Who's
drugs at the
listening
end of
to
the
it?
show.
I can't name drop it. I can't have it in the background playing. That's kind of a little, yeah, because if that were the case, all you have to do is go to social media right now and type in try, but also she cuts not playing right. But the point is she's doing it. And that's my point. It's like you can
Yeah,
have it and play 30.
if you do it on a private Zoom, that's fine. Like you can
Yeah.
do it. But if you're broadcasting out on Facebook Live or YouTube Live, then I don't. I think you could. I
I'm
mean,
telling you, go to Instagram. I guarantee you're gonna see it.
well, Instagram's well. I mean, TikTok. Instagram's got weird music licensing things. So has TikTok. So yeah, who knows?
But whatever you got to do to talk yourself out of this, Tim, I get it. I get it.
Well, no. I'm willing to dance to the music you composed by next week. So
Yeah, I've seen so many people. I just got done watching one this morning,
yeah,
and I think they're just playing it, and probably like Tim said that, or Christopher said, they're not playing the full song. They're playing a certain amount. But I'll look into that because it'd be kind of fun.
yeah,
So okay, we're still live. We need to cut this thing
yeah.
off.
Right. See everybody on Tuesday when we'll have Deb as a guest.
Yeah, I look forward to talking to you.
And Christelle will hopefully be back, or
Yeah, I
else
hope
it'll
she's okay.
be just the three of us. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Okay.
goodbye,
Bye.
everybody.